Alright, I've got a ton of tabs open and a desire to keep this relatively short, so we're not going to waste any time. The market has been going crazy as usual with buyouts despite megatins looming, decent penny stocks, and of course some cards with future speculation seeing price rises. So let's jump into today's Ion market and take a look at all. Welcome back to the channel, guys. We're going to go ahead and do this market watch pretty quick today just because there's a bunch of tabs open and a few things I want to talk about specifically. But with no products coming out for the next month and a half, I think until the October release of the structure deck, it's definitely going to be interesting to see where the market goes, where people choose to target their, assets, and even sets like Dawn of Majesty, how that set's developing. So let's jump into it, starting off with a few Dawn of Majesty things. I wanted to point out Albaz on the Shrouded Dragon quickly because they did announce a Fallen of Albaz structure deck. It remains to be seen whether or not we'll get that here in the TCG. It's definitely possible that we will, but we've had some weird structure decks miss the mark here. I'm not sure what the plan is going forward on that. So one of the cards I wanted to talk about, Albaz on the Shrouded Dragon, is a super rare in Dawn of Majesty. It's very cheap, about 50 cents, but it's an insanely good card because it's a recurable monster that can bring itself back with Fallen of Albaz or a branded spell or trap, and in addition to that, you can send a card from the deck or hand to trigger that revival effect. He does different things based on which one you do, so obviously you can either special summon him, or put him back on the deck and then draw a card. It's just a really solid card to keep an eye on, as we've seen some of the other Albaz cards start to get targeted buyouts. I don't think this is going to spike dramatically anytime soon, but there's 118 listings of him, and he's definitely a penny stock to keep an eye on. Thought I'd point him out, but we're going to talk about some of those other cards right off the bat, starting with Albaz on the Branded Dragon, which is an alternate version of him, of course. This card is up very much to about $13, give or take, at the cheapest for near mint, although now I'm seeing that, yeah, so this is like a spotlight one, but there's actually some closer to 8 to 9. I'll call it around 10 bucks on average. With the Albaz structure deck being announced, this did get a price spike, and people are excited about it. I do think it's nice to see Lightning Overdrive get a little bit more value in some of its ultra rares because the set was on the very low end in terms of value. So this and the Live Twin Frost getting price bumps are nice to see from a long-term value perspective. This is a really good card. It does search your branded cards out, and it certainly has use as a super poly target. I would recommend grabbing it. We do know Lightning Overdrive is not going to be in these tins, in the tins this year, and depending on when the tins come out next year, you've got at least a year, if not more, to get access to those. So just something to keep an eye on, or if you had these maybe in bulk because they were like 50 cents to $1, you might want to pull them out and sleeve them up, put them in a binder, or stash them aside somewhere. Alternatively, Titaniclad, the Ash Dragon from Rise of the Duelist, of course, that set notorious for value spiking. This card is up to about $21 with 40 listings. It was like $9 last week. It's just gone up, doubled in price. I think it's a very good candidate for the Megatins, but people may want to chase after highest rarity. Maybe it gets down to an Ultra. I'm not really sure. This, I would tell you, I mean, again, I always recommend, you make your own decisions what's best for you, so I don't intend anything to be financial advisement, but when I say I would tell you, I speak from my perspective and what I would do. I would probably try to move these at this price if you want to go ahead and cash out a little bit, because like I said, once it does get a reprint, it should drop significantly, and I think it's a really good candidate for the Megatins. Just quickly, speaking of secret rares and talking about Lightning Overdrive, Ruddy Rose Dragon up to about $19, almost $20. It has seen really, really solid growth. I think it's a good card. I talked about this back when it was 8, and I've mentioned it on previous market watches in the past. This is a card to have, just have a copy of it or two, whatever. I think it's going to continue to do well over time, and it doesn't have a Starlight variant, so there is no like higher rarity version. This is the only one, and I do think we'll see it get a good return as a result. Pivoting over to Infinite Impermanence, all 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence that are readily accessible, I'm not counting the secret here because that one's been to the moon for a while, are $30 plus. Dual Overload versions quite literally got bought out. There's only 8 listings left, with the cheapest near mint being around 40. Dual Overload's been, out of rotation or cycle for a while, so it's not an easy set to find, and people seem to like that Ultra. Of course, the Ultra from Dual Power, which is even older, is right around the same at 37, 38, but there are not as low listings on this one. I'm not really sure why. They look almost identical, so unless you're partial to one versus the other, I don't particularly see a reason to pursue one of the others. And the gold rare is the cheapest at 30, but this was not short printed. It was widely printed, and it just looks like now that Maximum Gold's a little over 9 to 10 months old, people are chasing it down. Magician's Souls is another ultra rare that is up a lot, as we expected with Dark Magician support. About $1.50 for English First Ed. You can get foreign copies cheaper. They are legal to play, but it's up to you whether or not you want those, whether or not you want to carry translations or have the Neuron app, whatever. Obviously, with the Magician support being announced in Battle of Chaos, until we were to get some kind of a reprint, it is hard to see this price going down. This card is now searchable with one of the new ritual monsters. Overall, it's just a really, really powerful card, and I think it's probably one you should anticipate having to pay a decent amount for at this point. Magician of Chaos from Dual Power is another one that is going up in price and selling quite a lot. It's around 10 bucks. I do think it's an awesome card from an art perspective. I've always thought it was relatively decent in the sense that, like, you can target a card on the field, you know, in response to a spell or trap being activated. It's not great, but it's not terrible either. And it can bring a ritual monster out from the hand on destruction, ignoring summoning conditions. I don't know whether or not it would see play in the deck, but I do think from a perspective of value, it definitely has some practical use, and it's in Dual Power locked behind a paywall, so we'll see whether or not that gets any type of bump or movement, whatever you want to call it. Another one that's moving is Dark Magician, the Dragon Knight. This is selling a ton. Dark Magician and any dragon monster. I do think it'll be a decent card to have in the extra deck. We're not really sure how yet or what, but it's neat. It's locked behind the legendary decks. This is the only one we haven't seen get a rewave, so just food for thought, but it's not cheap, and unless they plan on reprinting it at some point, which I would like, obviously, this is going to be a card you're going to want to at least have a copy of. I do think it's good. It protects your spells and traps from opponents' targeting and destruction, plus it becomes Dark Magician on the field or in the graveyard, so it's a really, really good card. Pivoting a little bit over to Dawn of Majesty, we're a couple weeks out at this point. Synchro Overtake still selling a ton, but also relatively cheap, around $13. I do think if you get a playset of this for less than 40 bucks, it's not bad to have. I don't know what its practical uses are going to be right off the bat, but it is a good card, and I think you might want to have them. Alternatively, Beetrooper Scout Buggy going up a little bit to 15, 16 after being around 10 to 12. I have my playset. I do think this is going to be a card that you'll want to have, because if the support that comes out in Burst of Destiny does more for Beetroopers, it could become a really viable deck. I think they're kind of fun with what they have now, but they definitely do need a bit more to be really practical and to be able to really go off and have any kind of meta presence. So I would recommend getting these. It does come Ultra as well as the Sneak promo. That one is a bit more because those were basically raffled off, but if you like that one better, it is around $22. Ready Fusion, if you don't have this card now, this feels like an all-time low price. I would definitely recommend picking them up. I have a playset. I got lucky enough that I pulled them, if you guys saw the box opening, and then a couple of off-camera openings that I did. Because, of course, that's when I pull the good cards. But just, this is going to be a card that's going to have an impact in the meta, and you're going to regret not having it if it goes up to like 40, 50 bucks. So if you have any interest in playing this at any point, I would recommend grabbing it now, sooner rather than later. And lastly, from Dawn of Majesty, Chronomaly Vimana is a rank 5. It is one of the best rank 5s in the game, in my opinion, being a monster effect negation and also an attack booster. Very easy to make, very generic. Only 60 listings, so it does seem like people are also catching on to that hype. And if you look over the past couple of days, there have been a ton of sales of this card. I would recommend having one just because of how good it really is. Moving on a little bit, Live Twin Collector Rares, just wanted to point those out. About $1.60 for Lila is the featured price, but you can see some a lot cheaper here, 70, 72. But the cheapest from like a reputable seller is about $150. So these are people trying to swoop in, make some sales, but it's going up for sure. And a median price of $160. I do think this card is going to, have a value increase. I don't know if it'll go quite that high, but it's definitely one worth holding on to. And honestly, if you're willing to take the gamble, you might want to scoop some of these up, because the ones at 70. It's definitely going to be more than 70 if it does see play. And Keys to Kill, very low quantities as well. This one quickly goes up after this one listing to 89 to 100. I just think Genesis Impact was not the most widely open set. These are not easy to pull, and these are going to see play once they get their new support. So just food for thought there. Dawn of Majesty also brought us Magic Keys, which get more support in Burst of Destiny. The Ultras have suspiciously stayed decently high for what they are, around $3 to $4 a piece for Magic Key World. This is a tanky that also allows you to search out your Magic Key spell. I do like this card a lot. Again, if you're interested in playing the deck at any point, grab them now because it's less than 10 bucks for a playset. And Maftia, same deal. Fusion ritual card, searchable by the field spell. This one's closer to $3.50, but it's super cheap, and I just don't see Dawn of Majesty being opened en masse, so it's just something to think about. Triple Tactics Talent, I meant to hit on this earlier, but I forgot. 130 bucks, continues to go up in price. I know it's good. I do. I'm not discrediting that. But let's be honest, guys. This is a really, really good candidate for the Megatins, and this price is really high. I would not be buying this currently unless you're desperately needing it for something. I feel the same way about Chamber Dragon Maid, still back up there after we saw it cool off for a while. We know this is getting reprinted as an alternate art in Maximum Gold, and it might be in the Megatins as well. I understand it's like a waifu card, people want it, what have you, but again, sell, sell, sell would be my advice on this. Not a financial advisor network or anything like that, but you guys get the point. Predaplant Anaconda, $50. I think people are worried about ban list speculation on this, but it's very limited in quantity. My personal opinion is it does not need to be banned. I think it's fine. I think it you know, if anything, Red Eye's Fusion might be the card to hit in that engine, but that's kind of a controversial take, and we're not doing take videos today, so just throwing it out there. Pretty pricey, though, all things considered. Junk Converter got to buy out with the Stardust decks and Synchron Hype, about 10 bucks. I've talked about this card forever. If you go back to the first Market Watch I did on this channel, you know, this card just, until Legendary Duelist Season 3 gets a reprint, this card has no reason to do anything but go up in price. It's an insanely good enabler for the deck that has just 2 really powerful effects, and it's not easy to get. So there's 10 copies. People are lining up trying to make sales, but this has been selling a ton, so it is something to keep in mind. Here's my surprising hit of the day. Sting the Poison Battle Wasp is $4. No idea when that happened. It's a tuner. It searches a Battle Wasp, and it allows you to tribute an insect to target an effect monster. It's not awful. I just don't know how you're getting it out all that consistently. Maybe people are seeing something that I don't. But if you have it in bulk, I would pull it out because it looks like it's about $4 to $5. And given that it's Battles of Legend Heroes Revenge, there's no reason to think that we're going to see a reprint anytime soon, although it would be very much welcomed. Contact C is up to about $8. I know Insect's got some support, but I honestly think Retaliating C is a better card between the two. Actually think of some interesting combos with things like Beetrooper, Scout, Buggy, and whether or not there's ways to get those to your opponent's field, locking them into only Insects. I want to talk about it in an upcoming video, but I need to finish working out some kinks with the deck profile. Retaliating C is where I would go personally if you're looking to pick up an Insect hand trap, but I know Crush Cards talked about this before. People are into it, so whatever. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm missing something. Crimson Blader's Secret Rare. I don't know why this is $25. I'm guessing it's because it's Legendary Collection 5Ds and maybe Legacy formats. Beautiful secret, very pricey. I would love a Legendary Collection 5Ds rewave, to be completely honest with you, but I don't know what the odds are of that happening. Destiny Hero Celestial, as we prepare for Burst of Destiny support. This was a short printed card in a set that was not very good in Destiny Soldiers. 25 bucks. I think it was one per like 3 boxes or something. So it's just not the most commonly seen card, but it does have an ultra rare and a common, so you can get this without having to overexert yourself all that much. And the last couple high-end cards I wanted to point out quick here. Instant Fusion Ultimate Rare has been just going up and limited quantities. I think people are seeing this card come back, you know, into formats. It's always sort of been in formats, but I think with Ready Fusion, this is basically just a 4th Ready Fusion, so it's definitely good to have access to. About 200 bucks, give or take. We're rounding up a little, but that on the ulties. And Magical Dimension Super Rare from Turbo Pack did get bought out with the support. Looks like it's about Nearman Unlimit. The cheapest for English is, I don't even know, 95. So not terrible. That's a gem mint graded one down there. I know people really like the application of this with Dimension Conjurer. I don't know whether or not I feel like it's going to be that great, but I suppose we will see what happens, and that's pretty much just really the biggest takeaway from this is we have a lot of waiting to do, especially with no immediate product coming out. So that's going to do it for today's video. We almost hit 10 minutes, a little bit over, but not too bad considering the amount of cards we covered. Let me know what you guys think if you want to, you know, pick up any of these cards, where you see the values. Market Watch looks like it's going to become a weekly staple again at this point. New videos every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I just don't know if the Market Watch is going to be the same day every week. I wanted to go ahead and give the rest of the week a chance to respond with prices before we do anything drastic. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please like the video if you enjoyed it, and comment below. Let me know what you want to see in future content videos, what you're picking up on the market, and I'll see you guys next time here at Loveshack.